Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked, and for the first time, I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Fowler. How's it going?
Hi Joel, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Not as like we've just spent the last hour speaking to each other on another podcast. So
I also realised I just asked you the same question you asked me. You said, how's it going? I was like, hiya Joel, how's it going? Let's just bat that back and forth for a while.
Now, of course, forget about Christmas Eve, forget about even Christmas. It's all about Boxing Day. Heart of Midlothian against Hibernian at Tynecastle Park in Gorgie, EH11, the big one. A fixture Hibs have won just 6 times since the turn of the century, just 14% of the time. The fixture is most welcome when Hearts are struggling. So, Craig, how are you feeling about it?
Oh.
And then podcast.
Yeah, not entirely confident, but also not necessarily pessimistic either. This is really, it's a bit of a cliche almost at times in derbies, but I do think this is one where I think anything could happen. I think Hearts could. A 3-0 Hearts win, would you be surprised? No, because it's Hibs coming to Tynecastle and it's always in play that Hearts could win handily. Would I be surprised if it's a high-scoring draw? No, not really. I don't think either team is particularly that great in defence. Hibs are looking a bit more threatening in attack recently and could cause Hearts problems. Hearts have got injuries to the back line. If Lawrence Shankly's got a good goal record against Hibs, so you wouldn't, even though he's been goal shy this season, you wouldn't be surprised if he nets a couple. And would also be surprised if Hibs win by a couple of goals and there's a meltdown similar to we saw the last time that Hibs won at Tynecastle, which was 5 years to the day, Boxing Day 2019. No, I wouldn't be surprised with that either.
Yeah, we've covered all the bases there. That's
that's right, done. Right, okay, have a Merry Christmas. See you later.
Before we get further into it, I do have a message from our sponsors, Good Vibes Giveaways. I think they're still sponsors. Are proud to sponsor Hearts Standard and offer fantastic prizes to fans of the club. Prizes change weekly and include tech gadgets, days out, weekends away, tax-free cash, and even Oasis tickets. Get your tickets now at www.goodvibesgiveaways.com and enter for your chance to spread the good vibes. Now, yeah, I think the win over St Johnstone was really important for a few reasons. Really important that it got Hearts off the bottom of the league. Just to optics-wise, it looks a lot better. It was really important for a bit of confidence and kind of going into this game. But also, I think more for the players, just because with the derby, I always feel that if Hibs are the more confident side going into the derby, that makes me feel more confident about the derby, just because they're not designed to play this role within the derby. They're there to be beaten and kind of seen as the underdog. So yeah, I feel more confident going into it, but also part of me just thinks there's something about it where it's feels like it's going to be very dry. It's got a dry feeling.
It does have a dry
to
feeling. Yeah, it does have a dry feeling. 2-0 might be too much to take after Christmas, but sorry, did I say 2-0 might be too much to take after Christmas? Probably one each. Usually kind of one of those almost like gentleman's agreements derbies that you sometimes get where it's like, yeah, okay, we'll just take that happy, right, signed, okay, see you later on. But it's an interesting point you make about, you've spoken about this season. So when Dundee came to Tynecastle recently, I was quite nervous about it because Hearts at Tynecastle have a tendency to play quite tight at times when things are going wrong, as in like without a freedom in the players. Like the tension within the ground is palpable. It affects the players. We've seen Hearts teams over the last few years have many players within them who don't want to express themselves as much in the final third because they're scared of making a mistake, and that has led to some turgid football. And I kind of wondered about Dundee coming to Tynecastle and playing with a freedom, because this Dundee team does play with a freedom, and so does the St Johnstone team. But you were right on both grounds in that they were the best kind of opponent to come to Hearts, because the team that we really don't want coming to Tynecastle is a team more like Dundee United, for instance,
yes,
who come and put
Kilmarnock,
who come and kind of sit in a low block and put the onus on Hearts to go and win the game and try to frustrate. And that frustration, if Hearts don't get an early goal, which in these matches often don't, kind of goes into the stands, and that bleeds that back down to the pitch, then it's this kind of perpetual cycle that eventually ends in a Hearts draw or defeat, ultimately. Hibs are very much of the mould of a Dundee or St Johnstone. They are not come to Tynecastle, and they're not going to sit in, especially now.
They can't.
Time. Yeah, they can't. They've not. Defensively, they're not set up for it. Their goalkeeper, Jordan Smith, hasn't looked all that convincing. He's getting better with games. He couldn't have really looked much worse than he did in his debut against, his league debut against Aberdeen. But there's still question marks about them. There's still question marks about the defence. Rocky Bashiri was good against Aberdeen. Very impressive in terms of how he marshalled Esther Sokler, but I thought his first half in particular, he was really bad against County. So there's that inconsistency to their defence and their defensive shape as well, including the guys in front of them. You're talking about Joe Newell and Nectar Triantis. So Hibs can be got at, and they will leave gaps, and they will also come to the game thinking they can go and win it with the form some of their front players are going on. And that's exactly the type of team that Hearts want right now. Whether Hearts could kind of outscore Hibs at this point in time with everything that's happened at the club recently remains to be seen, and with the fact that you can't really hang your hat on anybody to score goals, that does make me nervous. But I am optimistic going into this one, and I think the St Johnstone match was a big victory. Like you say, you often want Hibs coming into Derby with a bit of hubris, and there is a wee bit going amongst their fan base at the moment. But had Hearts not beaten St Johnstone, it would have just been total meltdown time.
Yeah.
And players' confidence at rock bottom, and that is what you don't want at all. So I was obviously I'm pleased with the victory because St Johnstone got us off the bottom of the table, but I do think it was necessary to give Hearts the best chance of winning this game as well.
Yeah. The only thing I would say for a player's point of view, but the good thing about the derby is that you kind of you forget about you treat it almost in isolation, like fans will. Like there won't be any kind of anger directed to the board or anything. All the focus, the one thing, like the Hearts fan base is split over so many different things. Will it be politics? Will it be players? Will it be their views? Kind of views and budge. Yeah, we've split on Gorgie Ultras. They're split on everything. But the only thing that unites Hearts fans, other than Hearts, is beating Hibs. And so that's what the focus. The focus will be solely on making it as difficult an atmosphere as possible for Hibs, and that's where it feeds into. Is Rocky Bashiri as bad as some Hearts fans make out? Probably not, but in those 90 minutes, they see him as a target that they will be able to put pressure on and expect a mistake from. They'll see the goalkeeper situation, Hibs. They'll see that as a potential to put pressure on, and then you also have the fact that this is probably from what I've heard from Hibs support pals that O'Hara's potentially out if injured. I think that might be a boost. And Joe Newell went off injured, I think, against Aberdeen as well. So they potentially have to make changes, maybe missing an important player in Joe Newell, even though I'm not a massive fan of him. But then on the flip side, Martin Boyle and Ellie Youhan have come into really good form, and I suppose not really concentrating Hibs. I want to flip it to Hearts and ask you, what would you do with the defence? Would you, if Craig Halkett's fit, he was on the bench and you'll be available for the game, would you bring him back in, or would you stick with the same defence considering they are the most mobile defence that Critchley has available to him?
Oh, that is a very tough question. And the reason why it is because you don't really know what Hibs are going to do. So last week, David Gray changed his team, but kept the same formation that they've been playing recently, which is a 3-4-1-2. But he changed the forward line. Ellie Youhan's been starting up front recently. He continued, but he brought Martin Boyle alongside him, and then he played Josh Campbell as number 10 when typically it's been Junior Hoylett's playing there.
Yeah.
And that was a very specific game plan to attack Aberdeen. And they took advantage of what I thought was kind of Aberdeen's hubris in that one. I think Aberdeen treated Hibs lightly and ended up getting burnt as a result. But will he look at Hearts and take advantage of Hearts in the same way is another question. Boyle was excellent against Aberdeen. Youhan's been good recently. So it would take a very brave man to change that up and to drop Boyle to the bench and bring in, for instance, Dwight Gale, who, even though he's shorter, is a lot more... is somebody that would be
more of a presence?
Aye, more of a presence and more of a threat from crosses into the penalty area. Because if you're expecting crosses into the penalty area for Hibs, and you do get that a lot from Nicky Cadden, he is somebody that gets out wide and puts the balls into the box, then you want a Craig Halkett to be able to head the ball away. That's what Craig Halkett brings you. He brings you that security blanket that when a ball goes into the penalty area, he's very likely to head it away. There is nobody else at Hearts who you feel comfortable enough doing that without Frankie Kent being in the team, and he's not going to be in the team possibly till the end of the season.
Yeah.
So, but Halkett also can't really move as quickly as other Hearts defenders. Like
he's slow in the turn.
He's slow in the turn. So if you have Oyegoki and you have Rowles going up against Youhan and Boyle, I think that's the best pairing you could put against them. Guys who can shift, guys who can move, guys who might not necessarily match them for pace, but with a couple of yards head start can nullify that threat. Craig Halkett would be scared of doing that. But like I say, if Gale plays instead and Hibs want to get the ball wide an awful lot and go with a different game plan than the one they used against Aberdeen, then you would want Halkett in there. So it's an interesting one for both managers in terms of them second guessing what the other one's going to do. Yeah,
absolutely. And I wonder if I'm kind of looking at what's available to him and just the way that Hibs play, and we've seen Critchley do it in Europe and want to try and defend against because I think against Aberdeen that the front two certainly took advantage of the space between the centre backs and the full backs. Whether he does what he did, I'm trying to think, Omonia maybe, and he does bring Halkett back in. But when Hearts are in possession or in certain scenarios in the game or certain situations where you see it as more of a three, where you've got Oyegoki who kind of tucks in, and Halkett is essentially look like Halkett's in the middle of the back three with Oyegoki and Rowles to either side of him. That's like a nice balance. Mm. But then the issue you have there is who do you play on the right of midfield, because then you're requiring that player to be the act as kind of a wing back, and there's only one man I can think of in the squad who's played that role and kind of suits it, and that's Alan Forrest, who is not
way out of form,
and you could noticed it on Sunday where he came on and there was some grumbles because he played a backward pass and stuff, and Shankland was trying to give him as much encouragement as possible, and I think Forrest is someone whose confidence has been dented just the way the fans have gone. So yeah, I think that the dynamics within the starting 11 will be interesting, because you do have to guard against Boyle, and I don't think he's as quick as he has been, but Youhan, he's a player that obviously frustrates everyone, but is a player. It's probably the main man at Hibs where I'm just like, I'm fearful of him if he turns up and wants to do stuff.
We said it before at Tynecastle, he scored a double in that game when Hearts were cruising. So he's got that ability to change games in a second. You're right in it, he's a very frustrating player, and talking about division, he's somebody that very much divides the Hibs support. But he is a player who in a second can change a game. And you have to be wary of that. And Boyle, you're right. He's lost half a yard. But Boyle had a lot of yards.
Yeah.
So he's still fast. Like let's don't get it wrong. He's still
Hearts don't have many yards of attack.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got more yards in Martin Boyle's legs than there is in the entire Hearts attack. Yeah. If Kenny Vargas isn't playing.
So just in terms of the only other two kind of decisions that I was going to ask you about team-wise is because I think you've got Spittle, Penrice going to play, Shankland's going to play, Devlin's going to play. He's been absolutely tremendous. Rowles is going to play. Is midfield, if Benny's fit, does he start?
I say no, and that's a bit controversial. I've never liked Devlin and Biringame as a partnership together. Ever since their first season, when they often played together in the 3-4-3, I thought that's actually when Hearts dropped off a little in that initial season after a great start. I felt that team always needed Peter Haring in it. You always needed somebody with physical presence, because Benny and Devlin, for all their attributes, both of them are quite small. Now, they punch above their weight. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I mean, they both must be, about 5'8", and there's a lot of heart in them. But at the same time, there is just physical limitations to being that small. And I think, especially in a kind of derby, you need someone with a bit of physical presence. Now, Malachi Boateng, he's not quite a Peter Haring type in terms of his physicality, but he does have. You see it at times when he's able to turn out of pressure. He does so because he can use his arms and he can use his broad frame to shield off players and to turn away from pressure. So I think this season as well, I think Benny and Devlin have looked individually at their best when they have played alongside him, when they have played alongside somebody who is a bit bigger and who can also win balls in the air a lot more as well. That's something obviously Benny and Devlin struggle with. So with the form that Devlin is in at this point in time,
undroppable.
Undroppable. So I would start with Boateng and Devlin, but let it know to the two guys who start in the middle of the park, you're on a very short leash, because if you're not playing well, it could come as soon as the half time. We will be bringing Benny on for you.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. But I was leaning towards them just because of their experience and their. I get it, because I think they balance each other relatively well, just in terms of their qualities, but maybe not as the best pairing, which is kind of.
I just think they're too small together. I think you always need a balance, and without either of them having any height at all for a footballer, I think that just upsets that balance.
And my final question, team-wise, was James Wilson. Do you start with him in attack with Shankland?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's just that's not even really a question for me at this point in time. Vargas, way out of form. Boyce, not got enough in the legs anymore. Musa Drama looks all right on the right. Up front, I'm not entirely sure. I think a question is who do you start on the right of Hearts midfield?
Yeah.
Like you need somebody in the team with pace. You do. Is it Musa or is it Vargas? Musa's kind of got this X factor quality that he's like not well known. He's awkward. He's not well known enough by opponents. I quite like that going into a derby game. So I would probably start with him, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Neil Critchley goes with the player who's got more experience of playing in Edinburgh derbies, which is Vargas. Also, I think Musa's just in a bit better form, but Vargas is overall the better player. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I think every time we've been doing a preview or done a video looking ahead to the game, it's always the final question is always who the hell do you play on the right hand side? Because no one really has made it their own. A positive performance against Hibs, a big moment, certainly can do that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's probably Musa at the moment, providing he doesn't. Critchley doesn't want to go with the kind of lopsided back three. Did I have any other questions for you? No, because we covered what Hearts need to do. So, I mean, suppose the last one was for Hearts to get the 3 points, and rather than just a simple, they just need to score more goals. What do they need to do to ensure we pick up the 3 points and we're celebrating a Boxing Day win?
I think Shankland's huge. Shankland needs to have a good game. He's made Rocky Bashiri look like a fool before. Mm-hmm. He can do it again. That Hibs back three, if it's got, especially like looking at their team for the weekend in terms of Ahora going out, it was Lewis Miller that came on. That's a couple of players that, and him and Bashiri, who
struggled at Tynecastle.
Struggled at Tynecastle, always liable to make an error. Just got to take advantage of that. Do you know what? Yeah. For Hearts to be Hibs, do the simple things at football.
Yeah.
This is what we've not done enough this season. Don't give away stupid goals at the back and take your chances in the final third when they present themselves. That's how Hearts are going to win the game. It is not actually rocket science, but it has been to this Hearts team this season.
Hearts fans just like the simple things. Just chase the opposition, play the ball forward, and put pressure on them. Let them will, and then take advantage of it. Get the crowd on the side. Just all simple things. But yes, we'll leave it there. Craig, thank you very much for coming on and previewing the derby. Hopefully, we will be celebrating on Boxing Day. To everyone else who watches this when I put this up this afternoon on Christmas Eve, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and an even better Boxing Day. And remember, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I was caught between saying share and subscribe, but if you could do both, that'd be fantastic. We're almost at 2,000. But yes, have a wonderful Christmas. Fingers crossed for Boxing Day, and enjoy the next few days. Goodbye.
Goodbye.